G'day Earthlings, Dr. Rank here, and welcome to Gaming Legends, the show that wanted to do a coinless run, but ran into financial difficulties. Skylanders is a beat-em-up platformer series centered around the super unique game mechanic of making a trip to the toy store. But toys are made of plastic, and therefore are unable to bend their knees. Can you beat Skylanders Imaginators without jumping? Our objective is simple. Go from a fresh user account to the final boss without ever pressing the jump button during gameplay. We'll also be playing on Expert Mode, the highest difficulty available on a first playthrough. And finally, all Skylander figures we intend to use during the run must be reset to level 1 with 0 coins before we can use them. It's worth noting that Imaginator creation crystals don't have an in-game reset button, instead requiring either the 3DS version of Skylanders Spyro's Adventure or the Wii version of Skylanders Giants. Both of these games have a global Reset Broken Toys option, allowing you to reset any Skylander regardless of type or release date. With the rules set, let's get this run started. Right out of the gate, we need to figure out how to get up the insignificant step blocking the path in the Cradle of Creation. What we need is a Skylander who possesses an attack that can get us airborne. Keep in mind that there are 175 unique Skylanders, and I only have like 10. Among those 10, we don't have many options. Some attacks, like Kingpin's combo, may look like decent jump replacements, but they're not capable of traveling up ledges. The Bazooka Imaginator's rocket jump fares a little better as it's capable of avoiding shockwave attacks, but it's completely useless for platforming despite literally having the word jump in the name. But luckily, there's still one option left, and he also happens to be my main.
Hey, plumber boy, mustache man, your worst nightmare has arrived.
Crash Bandicoot's secondary attack is his classic slide, which can be upgraded to add on an upper kick by holding the button. This move legally puts Crash airborne, allowing him to travel up ledges and over pits. The only issue is that this upgrade costs 1200 coins, but luckily there are a bunch of crates accessible in the starting area. All we need to do is collect the coins inside as Crash, wait a minute for them to autosave, then restart the level, rinse and repeat. Always repeat. I did eventually remember that racing mode exists, but that doesn't give us coins directly, so it's moot. Once in the level proper, we also encounter the Sensei Brawler Shrine, which both Crash and Kingpin can use to unlock their Sky Chi powers. Combat will go much more smoothly with these. I should mention now though that Crash is our only jump replacement available, and while he does have a unique extra lives mechanic, he also has the lowest max HP of any Skylander. If he dies, which did happen during the Sorcerer Doomlander fight, we'll be permanently grounded for the rest of that level. Luckily, the boss fight rarely has anything after it, letting Dingodile the Fire Bazooka get us back to the MAP. Before proceeding with the story, I headed to the Thumpin' Wumpa Island level for Crash's Soul Gem. There's some mild precision platforming we have to do, including some narrow platforms. The upper kick can only be done after a slide, forcing us to get a running start every time we want to jump. Luckily, we can slide in one direction while upper kicking in another. The Soul Gem itself is a reward for a challenge that only Dr. Neo Cortex can initiate, and Cortex is vertically challenged to say the least. Luckily, the challenge is just a shmup minigame, letting us easily unlock Crash's Boxer Rockets ability. Unfortunately, Cortex's Soul Gem is locked behind the Chili Pepper run. While it is a Crash exclusive challenge, we can't slide while using the pepper, effectively soft-locking us. I also grabbed Kingpin and Golden Queen's Soul Gems from the Water and Earth Sensei realms respectively. The Earth realm is mostly a flat plane, but the Water realm has these floating platforms that are really annoying to travel across. Annoying, but not impossible. I didn't actively seek out any other Soul Gems except for the bazookas in Scholarville. This level also happens to be our first major challenge, with a significant portion of the level taking place after the Doomlander fight. There's a brief grind rail section during which none of our attacks can be used. The only way to dodge obstacles is by jumping to the other rail, so we just don't dodge them. The level ends with another boss fight against the evil sea monster, who is rude enough to attack us during a platforming section. If Crash is on his last life, just forget about dealing damage. Your objective is simply to survive. Once you make it to phase 3 though, feel free to swap him out permanently. Immediately after is Shelmont's Shores, which is unfortunately where the run comes to an end. The first grind rail runs straight into an urchin, which results in an automatic restart if either player touches it. There's also another set of rails near the end of the level with the exact same problem, and as far as I'm aware, there's no way to finish the level without using these grind rails. Finishing Shelmont's Shores requires a minimum of 9 jumps. The next few levels are cakewalks, but then we get to the Golden Arcade. The first grind rails have exactly the same problem as the last ones, adding 3 more jumps. There's also 6 required jumps on the final rail to reach the locks on the vault, but thankfully the 7th is low enough to be hit jumpless. The biggest roadblock though is the video game. A 2D platformer with Angry Birds physics and several lollies blocking the path, in which none of the attack buttons do anything. I think 6 jumps is possible here, but the best I've ever managed is 7 jumps. The boss fight against the Smasher Doomlander is also done in 2D, making it much harder to avoid his attacks. I recommend using moves that can pass through him, such as Aurora's Flash Dash or Cortex's Hoverboard. Once he's down though, we've got another problem. The Imaginite chest spawns on the right side of the screen, and we're on the left side. And it turns out the platform in the center is just barely too tall for Crash's upper kick to overcome, resulting in 1 extra jump. This puts our jump total at 17 for the level and 26 for the whole game. Next is Dragon Temples, which gets a bit more interesting with its split paths. The Path of Fire is extremely difficult with its crumbling and moving platforms, but it is still possible. I do recommend doing the Path of Ice instead though, which I actually finished using Kingpen alone. For the second fork, I never bothered with the Brawn path since keeping Crash alive past the boss is an absolute necessity. You might think the Brains path would be a problem for Crash since he doesn't quite compute, but never underestimate the power of ludonarrative dissonance. Our next task is to gather cake ingredients from randomly chosen side quests, most of which aren't any different than a jumpless run. The only exception is Battlefield Blitz, but that barely qualifies. The abandoned amusement park requires a bit more precision with the gears, but it's not a big deal. It's also here that I discovered that Dingodile's Burning Dash can cross gaps. Better late than never, I guess. The Lair of Chaos needs Crash to finish the last puzzle, but is otherwise possible with anyone. The final battle against Super Chaos has a lot of shockwaves, and they seem to have a taller hitbox than usual. Even Dingodile's rocket jump couldn't dodge them completely, but it can at least reduce the damage we take from it. That damage adds up eventually, but don't worry, I had some Bandicoot backup. With the smartest, most powerful brain in the known universe being dethroned by a mentally challenged marsupial, the Skylanders jumpless run ends with 26 jumps. Of course, someone who's good at video games might theoretically be able to get this down to 25 jumps. As usual, you can watch the original footage on my archive channel. Also, I'm sorry this one was so easy and uninteresting compared to what I usually do, but I have a spark of hope that the next one will be much better. That's all for now, and I will see you down under.